Howdy folks, Nathan here with the 2020 Nissan Sentra SR. In my book, this is one of the most comfortable vehicles you can buy for the money. Normally we don't start these videos at the back of the vehicle. It's really rare at least. But there's a reason for it. Because what I'm about to show you is exactly the same as the Nissan Maxima. That's right, 14.3 cubic feet of space. That's identical to the number from the Maxima. Now you may be asking why. That looks like a much larger vehicle, and on the face of it, it is. But the way they packaged this car is fairly brilliant. And it's one of the things that makes the Sentra really compelling for commuters who aren't looking for high performance. It's actually kind of a hefty hood. It's definitely not aluminum. What you're looking at here is a 149 horsepower four-cylinder engine that puts out 146 pound-feet of torque. It's a 2-liter, and it's hooked up to exclusively a continuously variable transmission, a CVT. Now, this vehicle does simulate gears, but it's a CVT. And unlike the Toyota Corolla we recently tried, which has a gear and then a CVT, this is just a continuously variable transmission, but it is really smooth. If it had a 300 horsepower engine, this would be superior to the Nissan Maxima in almost every measurable way. It has a better ride. It has just as much trunk space. The looks aren't that much different than the Maxima, but this is where it kind of falls a little flat in terms of performance. Foot's all the way down. We're still at speed limit, which is good, but not great. It's not fast. Really, if there's an Achilles heel to this car, and there really is only one major one, and that is the fact that it's not geared for performance. Some important numbers and things to remember from back of the car. For one thing, 28, 37, 32. 28 miles per gallon city, 37 highway, and 32 combined. For a vehicle that has as much as this has and its overall size, that's actually really impressive. And when I drove one of these in Southern California, I was driving it really hard and I was still averaging near 30 miles per gallon, and that's with a big ape behind the wheel. But there's something else that I wanted to point to, and that's down here. That's because you have a multi-link rear suspension in there, baby. This vehicle feels much more planted than the one it replaces. Not only that, but it's longer, lower, and wider than the one it replaces. I used to love the way Nissan Sentras were styled because they were kind of fun and funky. And then they got kind of simple and dowdy. And I think Nissan's kind of going back to a little bit more fun, but they're also looking at a very sober design, one that is incorporated throughout all of their cars. If you put this next to a Maxima, or the new Versa, or the Ultima, they all look really similar. But the good news is, it's not an ugly look, especially with this white. I personally don't like white on most cars, but a few cars and trucks with white look fantastic, and this is one of them. Check out that floating roof. Having a different color on that type of roof, I think, is fantastic, and it makes this car look even sportier. Nissan has incorporated some really nice looking lines that go all throughout the body. I think this is a really good looking car, unless it's sitting next to one of its brothers. Another thing that's, I think, nice, but be cautious, are these 18-inch wheels. They are nice to look at, but they also are right on the very edge of the rubber. So for new drivers, I'd say that that is a real good place to curb a wheel, man. I do like the spoiler. I don't think it does very much, but this area here, it could use a little bit more, like, I don't know, a second exhaust. Otherwise, I do think this is a car that you can be proud of, just in terms of the fact that it doesn't look boring. Really, when you think about it, A vehicle like this is all about the interior. It's about comfort, ride quality, and drivability. So all of that takes place in here. So as nice as it is on the outside, it's much nicer on the inside. Fit and finish has improved throughout the entire Nissan line. They are working on their interiors. In some ways, they remind me of Mazda, trying to really up their game. And by doing that, they've given you something that is extremely comfortable. Here's an example. These front seats, just the front seats. They are Nissan's zero gravity seats. And the whole purpose of that is develop seats that are comfortable over the long term, that reduce fatigue and are comfortable. And even for a big ape like me, in this seat, I am very comfortable. There's 14 points that actually make contact. And over the long term, when you're driving this vehicle, and I drove it for over 200 miles at one point, it was very comfortable. Now, the back seats are not the same. I'm a big guy, I'm 6'1", and I'm hefty, so I had that seat all the way back, leaned back a little bit. And I have no problem sitting behind myself. The rear seats are relatively comfortable. The legroom is good. Look at here. Look at this. I got some really good space for my legs. Headroom isn't too bad. I am touching if I lean my head back. But if I'm sitting normal, like I slouch because I slouch, it's not too bad. And considering the fact that I've driven a lot of cars that compete with this one, such as the Elantra, the Civic, and recently the Corolla, I can tell you this is very competitive. And the bottom line here is that for at least 2 adults, they can sit comfortably back here for a pretty decent period of time. Overall, I really do give this interior high marks. I still think that the Mazda 3 looks a little nicer, and Toyota's really catching up, but the coloring, the design, the layout, the quality of the materials is all really good. Really, if I have a gripe, and there's only really one, it's this plastic that they used here. Have a look. This woven appearance to me looks like it's trying to look like carbon fiber, which I always thought was a bit of a joke, except for on super high-end sports cars. But other than that minor gripe, everything in here is soft to the touch. All of these components feel really good. This vents, I just love these vents. I love the way they're styled. They remind me of the old 240Z. The steering wheel is very nice in hand. Very sporty. Unfortunately, the car isn't. We know that. But in terms of overall feel, very nice. And it's flat bottom, which is great for both sports people and fat people. There's a lot of stuff that goes on behind the big badges nowadays, and also behind the mirrors, because what you get in this vehicle is standard. Automatic emergency braking with pedestrian detection, intelligent forward collision warning, rear automatic braking, blind spot warning, rear cross traffic alert, intelligent driver alertness, lane departure warning, and the list continues. But I wanted to bring your attention to one thing that I really dig because it helps, and that actually has to do, once again, with the tires. And that's because Nissan has a system that'll alert you when you reach optimum pressure when you're putting air back in it. I think that's pretty cool. I do like the positioning of this 8-inch screen, and it's really easy to use. It took me a minute to sync my phone in here, and the menu, it works pretty easily. It's not that hard to push buttons and get through everything. Of course, because I have butterfingers, not as fast, but anyway, relatively easy to use. And here is a nice thing. Look at that, 360, baby. This car is one of the few in its class that has something like that, and it really does help when you're in a parking lot trying to avoid obstacles and trying not to ding your door. One more thing is that this 7-inch display in front of me is also really easy to use, looks great. I really am impressed with the tech that you get for the money. The Nissan Sentra starts just over $19,000, and as you move up, obviously it becomes more expensive. Now, this vehicle does have a $2,170 premium package, which gives you the nicer seats, the fake leather, which is, by the way, feels really nice, the upgraded stereo system, sunroof, and everything else. If you take all of that into account, it's still a bargain. This vehicle, fully loaded as shown, is $25,825. That is, for what you get for the money, a screaming bargain, especially because it rides so well. If the commute is the most important part to you, if comfort is really important, if having a kick-ass stereo system is really important, and if having a vehicle that has decent styling really important to you, this is a really good choice. Yes, it has a CVT, so no, it's not that much fun off the line, but it handles really well, so you get a lot for your money, just not a lot of fun. For the Fast Lane Car, this is Nathan. Don't forget to go to TFLcar.com for more news, views, and real-world reviews. I'll see you guys next time.